Hello and welcome everyone to the Polity Primer series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pragya. In the Polity Primer, we are discussing the Major Constitutional Amendment Act. The title of our today's discussion is the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act explained. In this discussion, we are firstly going to study about what is the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act all about. We are also going to see its historical background. We are also going to analyze the key provisions introduced by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, including the articles amended and the new articles that were inserted in our Indian Constitution through this amendment. Lastly, we are going to see some of the questions for your preliminary examination and a question for your mains examination. So if I talk about the background of our today's topic, whenever I teach you Indian Constitution, I never fail to mention that yes, it is a very organic document. It is not a static document and it definitely has the capacity of adapting itself to the changing needs of the society, and that is why our founding fathers inserted Article 368 in our Indian Constitution so that it can change itself, it can modify itself by the changing needs of the society. So this brings us to the point of discussion, the important point of discussion of our today's discussion, that what is the 7th Constitutional Amendment and what is the importance and significance of having this amendment in our Indian Constitution. So if I talk about the 7th Constitutional Amendment, basically it was done to give effect to the recommendations of the State Reorganization Commission. State Reorganization Commission of 1956. And basically the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act reorganized our Indian states on linguistic basis. So before this amendment, states in India were organized primarily based on administrative convenience, and this led to various linguistic and cultural disparities. And as we all know, India is a country which is very diverse in nature if you talk about the culture, and we definitely believe in the concept of unity in diversity. And that is why, to honor our various cultures, honor our various languages that are spoken by our local people, we divided the states on linguistic basis. And the 7th Constitutional Amendment facilitated this reorganization of states. Moving forward, let us discuss the historical background behind the enactment of the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. So basically, the 7th Amendment to the Indian Constitution was introduced to make states segregation more organized, replacing it with the existing system. So what was the existing system? It was Part A, Part B, Part C and Part D states. So basically, for administrative convenience, our Indian states were divided into Part A states, Part B states, Part C states and Part D states. But all of this existing system was abolished by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. It brought major changes in the 4th schedule and reorganized the states on a linguistic basis, as I have mentioned. Various regions in India had been demanding the formation of states based on the language spoken by the majority of the population, and this amendment was a step towards addressing these linguistic and cultural diversities, because we, India as a country, believe in unity in diversity. So to give the effect to the recommendations of the State Reorganization Commission and to respect unity in diversity, this 7th Constitutional Amendment Act was enacted by our Indian Parliament. Moving forward, let us understand the key provisions of the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. So basically, the first key provision is reorganization of states, as we are studying about it. So the amendment led to the reorganization of several states based on linguistic lines. For example, the state of Andhra Pradesh was formed to accommodate the Telugu speaking population. So basically Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, etc. all of these states in the south were divided on the majority of the population speaking language. For example, Telugu speaking population, Malayalam speaking population, Kannada speaking population, etc. So the key provision includes reorganization of states based on language, based on linguistic lines, and that is why the 8th schedule was also amended by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. Let me know what does the 8th schedule speaks about in the comment box below. Moving forward, special provision for some states. So as we all know, Article 371 of our Indian Constitution. Article 371 of the Indian Constitution talks about granting special status to some of the Indian states. So basically, the amendment allowed for the creation of these special provisions for some states. Like the special status granted to Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, and Article 371 also talks about granting of special status to various other Indian states. Moving forward, changes in representation, and this was also a key provision of the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, that it changed the representation of the states in the Lok Sabha, okay, in the territorial constituencies. So basically, the number of seats in the Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha allocated to each state was adjusted to reflect their population after the reorganization. Abolition of class A, B, C and D states. As I have said that it abolished the existing system of classifying the states into part A, B, C and D for administrative convenience. So basically, the amendment abolished the classification of states into classes A, B, C and D, simplifying the administrative structure of the Indian states. So that is why it is said that yes, it also enhances federalism in India. Moving forward, let us see what were the articles that were amended by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. So the first article is definitely Article 1. The split of the state based on parts was eliminated as part of the revisions made. States were used in the place of parts A and B, and states in part C and D were replaced by the union territories. So basically, we also had this provision of union territories by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, and there were added 14 states along with 5 union territories by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. Moving forward, Article 81. So when we were studying about the key provision, we saw that yes, the territorial constituencies and the representation of the states in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha were also changed. So it has a provision which made readjustment in the allocation of seats to the states and the divisions of each state into territorial constituencies after each census. Basically, it said that yes, the territorial constituencies can have 500 members in the Lok Sabha and 20 members from each UT. 20 members from So this limit of 500 members from the state and 20 members from the union territories was fixed by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act by making changes in Article 81 of our Indian Constitution. Moving forward, a provision making it possible to appoint the same person as the governor for 2 or more states under Article 153 of the Indian Constitution was also made by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. Articles 170 and 171 were also amended. The maximum strength of the Legislative Council of a state has been raised from 1/4 to 1/3 of the strength of the Legislative Assembly of the state, because it promoted bicameral legislation on the states as well. Let me know which of the states in India have a bicameral legislation in the comment box below. So this bicameralism of the state legislatures was also possible by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. Moving forward, it also amended Article 216 and this sets the number of judges for each High Court, and this enables the President to propose as many judges as required for a High Court, and it also made possible the jurisdiction of a High Court on a union territory. Jurisdiction of a High Court on a union territory. Okay, so this was also made possible by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. Article 217 clause 1, it was amended to add the words in case of an additional or acting judge as provided in Article 224 and in any other case to the existing words of the provision shall hold office until he attains the age of 65 years. That means it also added the provisions of having additional and acting judges in the High Courts for states. Moving forward, Article 230 was revised to enable Parliament to extend the jurisdiction of a High Court to exclude the jurisdiction of a High Court from any union territory, and this is the provision which I was talking about. In fact, it also said that previously the High Court judges were barred from practicing in any court of law in India. But after the enactment of the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, the High Court judges can now practice in different High Courts as well as the Supreme Court of India, barring the court in which they were the judge. So this provision was also added by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act, and now the High Court judges are not barred from practicing law in the courts of India. So Article 231 was also amended to enable Parliament to establish a common High Court for 2 or more states. Okay. And Article 240 was revised to make provisions for the peace, progress and good government of the Union Territory of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep, Minicoy and Amandivi Islands. Okay. So all of these articles were amended by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. Now let us see what are the new articles that was inserted by this constitutional amendment. So the first is Article 250 clause A, which talks about the power of the state to submit its executive functions to the Parliament of India. Then there is Article 350 clause A, which promotes the education at primary level for linguistically minority children in their own mother tongue. Then there is Article 350 clause B, which talks about a special officer for linguistic minorities. Then there is Article 371 of our Indian Constitution, and as I have mentioned, it has special provisions for various Indian states. Then there is Article 372 clause A, which talks about the power of the President to adapt laws. And lastly, there is Article 370 clause A, which talks about the duration of the State Legislative Assembly of Andhra Pradesh. So this is a very special article. So all of these new articles were also added by the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act to the Indian Constitution. With this, we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. We have seen the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. We have also seen the historical background and key provisions of this act. We have also analyzed the articles that were amended by this act and the articles that were newly added to our Indian Constitution by this act. Now, let us discuss the practice questions for your prelims examination. So, your first question is, which article of the Constitution provides that every state shall endeavour to provide adequate facility for instruction in the mother tongue at the primary stage of education? And this is a PYQ that was asked in the year 2001. Your options are, option A is Article 349. Your option B is Article 350. Your option C is Article 350 clause A, and your option D is Article 351. So your correct answer is going to be option C, that is Article 350 clause A. Moving forward to the next question. Your question number 2 is, what was the main objective of the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act? Your options are Option A is to create new states and union territories. Option B is to redefine the powers of the president. Option C, to extend reservation of seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in legislatures. And option D, to promote religious freedom. So your answer will be to extend reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in legislatures. Okay. Moving forward to the last question of our today's discussion. So your question 3 is, consider the following statements. Your statement number 1 is, 7th Constitutional Amendment Act abolished the existing classification of states into 4 categories. That is Part A, Part B, Part C and Part D states, and reorganized them into 14 states and 6 union territories. Your option statement B is, it provided for the establishment of a common high court for 2 or more states. So which of these statements given above are correct? Your options are, option A is 1 only, option B is 2 only, option B, C is both 1 and 2, and option D is none of the above. So this answer will be given by you to me in the comment section, and I will be revealing this answer in the next session of Polity Primer. Now let us discuss a practice question for your mains examination. So the question is, discuss the significance of the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act. So basically you will start writing about this amendment, that yes, it is a very significant amendment and it increased the federal structure in India. You will write about the reorganization of states, etc. And you will write that yes, it was enacted in the Indian Constitution to give the effect to the recommendations of the State Reorganization Commission. Then you will discuss the key provisions, articles amended, articles inserted in very brief, and then you can conclude holistically that yes, after this Amendment Act, our states are now reorganized on linguistic basis, and definitely it eases the administration of these states and it also promotes unity in diversity. So you can conclude very holistically. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you have any feedback regarding this session, you can drop it in the comment box below. If you liked today's discussion and found it to be helpful, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. If you want to get the PDF of this session, you can join the Telegram channel, the link which is shared in the description box. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.